finding yourself in the craft. Introducing Ash Felkner in episode 200 of the BTS Creative Academy podcast, UNCUT, with me, your host, Martin Colton. So let's begin. You ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do this. Hello, Ash.
Hi.
Welcome to the BTS Creative Academy podcast. This is actually episode 200.
Yeah, that's insane.
Episode
that's
200.
really cool.
So, but yeah, thank you for joining me. Had a bit of a journey here this morning.
I did.
How was it?
You know what? It was good. I like a nice long train ride. If it's not like packed like sardines, and I seem to kind of beat. Yeah. I beat the rush hour,
Did
so
you?
that was nice. Yeah.
Oh, good.
I think the first train was a little congested, but after that, it was just a nice smooth trip. And then on this side of town, or London, what is this?
So we're in Essex now.
Okay, yeah. So I'm familiar with Essex. It's just woody. Yeah.
Woody, yeah.
Yeah, we're in the woods.
We're in the
forest.
I guess so. Like living here, just outside of London. Maybe I don't appreciate how much greenery there is.
Okay.
But there is quite a bit.
There's a lot.
There is a lot.
It's nice.
Still feels a bit too concrete for me. I'd like to get out a bit further.
Okay.
But yeah,
this feels concrete
to me.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you're coming from London, then of course, like London's really concrete, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you're not from London, are you?
I'm not. I'm from LA.
Right. Okay.
But before that, I grew up in Texas. I lived in LA for 10 years, and then I grew up in a small town. Well, it's not small anymore. She's gotten quite big, but I grew up in Mansfield, Texas.
So how is London compared to there?
London I'm getting used to like public transportation, because in LA we don't commute that way. Everybody has a car.
Yes, yeah.
You kind of need it to get around.
Everything. I've only been to Florida, and
Florida,
I found like everything was just spread out, and
yeah,
you can't walk anywhere. You've got to get a taxi.
You have to have a car. Yeah. Or if you're getting a taxi, that's expensive.
Yes.
You might as well just like bite the bullet and
get a car.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but I quite like it. I kind of feel, I think London's pretty comparable to New York. Mm-hmm. Would you say? Have you been to the States?
I haven't been. No, like I say, the only place I've been is Florida, Disney.
Oh, that's the only place you've been.
I've only been to Disney, and that's like my Disney, Orlando.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of Universal Studios. That's my only experience of the United States.
Oh, well,
that's quite
sad.
Condensed, isn't it? That is really bad.
You gotta go somewhere else.
No,
yeah.
Even though I say like I like the greenery, I do quite like the idea of going to New York.
Okay.
I do like that kind of idea.
Because London feels very New York City to me.
Yes, yeah.
Just because I think, and here it's a better grid system, I think, than New York. I actually shouldn't say that, since I don't live in New York. I think any New Yorker watching this is probably like, how dare you? But I think, I think as far as like public transportation goes, it is quite, also it feels very city. You don't really, I think there's a lot more parks in London, which is really great. So there is more greenery. I don't know why I'm talking so much about New York.
No,
I'm from there.
I think that's what sometimes happens on these podcasts. I think we go off on these little tangents to discover sometimes, and it's like, how are we going there? Because we're supposed to be talking about creativity today, and your creative life. Let's get into that.
Dive into creativity.
So when I looked on your Instagram, I saw it said you had your name obviously, and then it just had artist.
Yeah.
And I really liked that. I was like, that's cool. Just call yourself an artist, because you do many things.
Yeah.
You're an actor, you're a writer, a dancer, producer.
Yeah.
And anything else to add to that?
Not so far.
Not so far.
But yeah.
But all of them things comes down to being an artist.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And I think as actors, we all do wear a lot of hats these days, right? You kind of have to survive out there and to stay creative and to have just the longevity that you want in your career. And also I think at the time I had a hard time calling myself an actor, because I think in LA it is kind of, it loses its artistry a little bit. Everything is so star-studded, and it's about the fame of it all, and TikTok stars, and everybody's an actor. And I think I didn't want to be put in that category. I wanted to be a little more elitist, I guess, or whatever. I guess maybe a little more full of myself and just set myself apart as no, I'm an artist. I care about the craft. I care about the rehearsal process. I care, like, this is what I do, you know. So, which is kind of bougie, I guess.
Why did you find that so difficult to put that label on yourself as an actor?
I don't know.
What was that?
I think because I am an actor, but I think I also just have a hard time with boxes. Do you have a hard time with boxes?
Yeah, definitely. As a creative person, like you said, I've got to wear many different hats and do many different things, and I like to be very flexible.
Yeah.
And I like to change up what I'm doing. I don't just want to do one thing.
Right. Yeah.
And
exactly.
I don't think I don't think any of us are meant to do just one thing.
Yeah.
Like, I think we should be flexible and adaptable, and I think some of the happiest people I've ever known are flexible and adaptable.
Yeah.
Some of the saddest people I know only do one thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think it is really important to be multifaceted, because I think it just gives you so much depth as a person, even, and so much experience that you can just draw upon then as an actor. And I think because, like I said, in LA, it is very much about, I think more about, I shouldn't say that there are no like artists. There's so many artists. I'm so grateful to have lived in that community and in that city, but it's easy to get lost in people that just want to, I think, try it out, or who are addicted to maybe the fame part of it, which doesn't just come, you know. And I think that, I don't know, I think the artistry of it was really important to me. So I don't know why that word. Yeah,
and I guess it is I always used to find it quite a hard thing years ago when I would say I'm an actor, and I would go and I'd meet new people. I'd go to, for instance, like a barbecue where, you know, you're meeting loads of new people for the first time. They'd be like, so what do you do? I'm an actor. And then, like, you know, like, what that next question's going to be.
Oh, yeah.
So what are you in right now?
Exactly. What are you doing?
Yeah, what channel
what can I see you in? Yeah, that's true. That's a big part of it as well.
And so for a while I was kind of like, oh my God, I'm going to this thing. What am I going to say? Who am I going to say I am? What do I do? Who am I? How do I describe that without then having that pressure of prove it?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I guess if you think about it, I also don't know why it is pressure, though, when people ask us about that. Because if you think about it, if anybody were to tell you any other job that they were involved in, or that I do this for a living, you'd be like, your next question would be like, oh, cool. Like, what do you do? You know, like, what's your day-to-day look like?
Yes.
But when we're asked that as actors, we do feel like, because I think we do get so much of our self-worth from that booking, from the next job. And we understand as actors that even if we're not involved in a project right this moment, it doesn't make us any less of an actor. But somehow when we have to explain that to somebody, it's unnerving a little bit. Yeah. Yeah,
no, it's a very challenging thing. It took me a long time to figure out, what do I say to people who I am, because of that outside pressure. But I don't even know if it was real, or if I was just putting it on myself.
Yeah.
That pressure.
Yeah, I think we do it to ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all masochists.
Yeah,
as
probably.
Artists.
Somewhere struggling with like the who am I ego and like all of that mixed up all into one, and then it's like, you just get lost within that somehow.
Yeah.
But you've got a very interesting story, I guess, because I've spoken to a lot of people that have come from the UK or Europe, and they head straight to LA. They go, right, I'm going to be an actor, and therefore I must be in LA. And in fact, I've had about 3 or 4 people on the podcast that have done that.
Yeah.
That have gone to seek their fame and fortune by going out there. Whereas you've gone, get me out of here and come over to here. Why is that?
I think I just got so, and I have to be really careful because I did get burned out in LA. So I do think even starting this podcast, I feel like already I'm a little bit on a negative vibe of LA. I love LA. I'm going back once my visa's done. It absolutely is, I think, just heaven on earth. But I think that I did. I got burnt out and I got a little discouraged in my career, and I felt like I wasn't really going anywhere. I had hit a plateau. I had struggled with a number of like mental health issues. And then I separated from my 10-year partner. And so it felt like to me it was the right time for a change. I just needed a major change. And I had always dreamed of coming to London. I wanted to actually study abroad here, and I never did. And I also had always wanted to get my master's. It's something that I pursued a few years back, and I never finished. And when I don't complete things, it haunts me for a while. Mm-hmm. I don't know why, but I feel like a failure as a person. So it was really important to me, I think, to at some point finish my master's. And so I just started looking at programs and how to do that. The UK is really cool that you get a 2-year work visa when you finish a graduate degree in acting. Mm-hmm. And I guess that wasn't a thing a few years back. So I was like, I'm going to take advantage of that. Yeah.
And come here.
Yeah.
And then and so that's all completed now, is it?
Yeah. So I got my master's last year, and then so now I'm here 2 years.
So what, like without sounding rude, like why stay? Why be in the UK? I don't want to sound like that at all, but like, why? What's different here to the opportunities here that's different to say LA?
I do think that, in what I've heard anyway, is that a lot of film work is actually coming here. Yeah. So it is an exciting time to be in London, and I also just think, and this is not like to trash talk LA or anymore, but it is just a difference of focus. I think I struggled in LA a lot with my looks. That was it's a big important part in casting. I mean, it is here as well, but I feel like it's not so much the focus. I was told in LA that I wasn't pretty enough to play leads. Okay. So, and that was something that stuck with me. So I had a hard time, I think, with self-esteem and just feeling my best and feeling like I actually stood out as an actor at all, or that I had anything to offer the table or to bring to the table. And so I think being here, I have just noticed I think the focus is more on the craft, more on the artistry, more on the process. It is about the training. It is about, and I just think the theater scene here is really incredible. And I think it's a great opportunity to kind of attack both at the same time, do film and do theater, which is what I've been wanting to do. And I think that in LA, it's also too easy to get stuck in having to pursue commercial or film or TV. And
the superficial.
The superficial, yeah.
The superficial stuff seems to be.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I, from an outsider, I get that. I see that perspective as well. And like you say, there is so much film work happening here now. Yeah. They're building a new Apple TV studio in the UK.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The Warner Brothers studios expanding. The UK, I think throughout most of my life, I've seen it as a secret Hollywood. Okay. Like there is a lot of films that are made here. Yeah. I would say 80-90% of the biggest blockbusters you see are made here.
Oh wow, yeah.
But we just don't talk about it.
We don't
have that big banner that says Leavesden.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have that. We don't kind of celebrate it like Hollywood used to or does. And yeah, there is a lot happening here, and I would guess there's a lot of opportunity for an American over here as well because of that. Yeah. Because I get a lot of audition requests to do an American accent.
Oh, do you?
So do you find that you're getting work because of your nationality?
My agent has told me that that is a thing. It is really important to market myself because I did, of course, at East 15, I did tons of training on voice and dialect for SEA and doing a standard English accent. And I really worked hard on my British dialect and could not wait to showcase that. And my agent told me it's a really important time to market you as an American. Like you need to stay American, you need to be American, you need to showcase
lean into.
Yeah. And so I guess so, yeah. And I do see a lot of breakdowns for American roles, so I think that's exciting.
I think there's huge opportunity for you here with your nationality. I personally I don't like leaning into those roles.
I'm gonna cough. I'm sorry. I don't want to.
Yeah, cough away.
That was weak. I did. I struggled. Yeah. I expected it to be so gross because I had a sinus infection for like 3 weeks in a row, and so my cough has been like really
and hay
gross
fever.
and percolating.
I get hay fever right now, bad.
It's a thing.
Yeah, I never used to get it, but last 3 or 4 years, I'm just scratchy throat, itchy eyes, the sniffles. Like it's just hay fever's bad at the moment.
Yeah. Everyone's been going through it.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry to cut you off.
That's okay. That's okay. That's where these things go. Like I say, we go all over the place. We started with the greenery, and we've gone to LA, and now talking about our colds. But yeah, no, I definitely see opportunity for you here if you lean into who you are.
Yeah.
And it's this thing about being your authentic self with acting. I've discovered a lot about recently. I used to try to work a lot on trying to be someone else and give an impression of who I am, and now when I get those auditions that are clearly not me, I don't look at them with much joy, and I'm like, I don't really want that work, so I even stopped pursuing the stuff that I can see is not me.
That's amazing, because we do struggle with saying no as well, don't we, as actors? You feel like you can't say no.
You feel like you've got to take every opportunity.
You're right, yeah.
And I think we're kind of told that as well.
Yeah.
Like I was definitely told that when I think back to my time of studying, and we're kind of told, take everything because you don't know where it will lead. And that is a fairly good philosophy. But then I feel like for me, I've got to a stage in my life where I'm like, I've got things that are giving me fulfillment. Mm-hmm. And I know what I want as a career path, and if that doesn't align with that, then
you don't. Why
do I need to fill my time with something that isn't for me?
Yeah, because it all is time. It's all energy, and if you're spending it on the wrong things, I do think like there's a possibility you miss the opportunity you do want then because you were busy taking this other thing that you don't really care that much about. So I think it's important and also like you said, not everything aligns with us as people, but not everything makes you feel good either. And I think we do get to be a little picky in this career, right? We're not saving lives or anything. No. Like we do this because we enjoy it at the end of the day. And if it's not bringing you joy or fulfillment, like you said, why?
Yeah. And I had that with this podcast recently. I've started to get this podcast to a place where I'm looking to turn this into not just something that I'm doing for fun or getting fulfillment out of, but it's turning into a business. Yeah. And I was talking to some producers recently, and they offered to come on board with me. But the more we were talking, they were getting so wrapped up in the analytics, the numbers, the what happens at this time stamp and this thing. I just said, guys, this isn't what I want to do. Yeah. This isn't what I've been doing that's working for me. I'm not going to change it to be all about analytics now. You do that if that's your thing, but it's not for me. Right. Yeah. And then when I stepped back, I was like, shit. Did I make a mistake there? But then 2 minutes later, I'm also like, no, I feel it. Yeah. I just feel that was the right choice to make.
I mean, I think that's great to know that in yourself, because I think the other part of this thing called life is like learning who you are as a person. And I think I also really struggled, which I think is why I maybe have struggled in my career as much as I have, is just not fully knowing who I am and where I stand and where what exactly I want to do. And that was always like the dreaded question for me as well. Like, what do you actually want to do? Or what is your dream, or what's your focus, or what's your goal? And
it's so hard to find that or just come up with it. Yeah. And it's difficult for actors as well, because we're doing this career where we're trying to play other people. Yeah. So we kind of forget about ourselves. A little bit within that.
Of course.
But I feel if you look at some of the most successful actors out there, you know them as a person. You know what they're about. You know what they stand for. And yes, you enjoy their craft or their art, but they shine through. Yeah. I don't know why right now Al Pacino's coming to mind. Al Pacino, right from the beginning of his career, you knew who he was as a person. He played other parts, but he was always Al Pacino in those parts. There was always him coming through, and I found that very difficult to sit back and go, who's Martin in amongst all this? And it takes time.
It does. It does take time, and learning how to sit in it and not force something to happen, I think, is really important as well, because that's part of the creative. I was just talking to a friend about this last night, actually. It's part of the creative process is also sitting in the unknown part of that, and also the moments where nothing is happening and it's just dead. We hate that as actors too, right?
Yes,
we want to always be feeling something, and it's the most frustrating thing ever when it's like there's no inspiration. Even as a writer, like people go through writer's block, like it's an actual thing where just there's nothing coming to your brain, and that's a very important part in the creation process. And we were talking about the movie Inside Out 2. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. It's
Any
so
good?
Yeah, it's so good. I love those movies.
I do. Disney Pixar
Just gets me.
Yeah.
Pixar just
Recently, I haven't been watching. My kids are grown up now. I've got like a 15 and 18-year-old.
Oh, wow, okay.
And so now I had this period of time where I watched every Disney film, and I got to really enjoy that as an adult. But now, because they're grown up and I haven't got anyone to watch it with, I'm not watching them quite so much, and I've missed quite a few of the recent ones.
Oh, you got it.
I think since Frozen. I haven't really seen
Frozen
much.
was the last thing you've seen.
Pretty much.
Come on, man.
Moana, that's kind of
There's
like...
There's a
new
Moana coming out as well.
Yes, I'll make an effort. I'm hoping my daughter says to me, can we go and watch it? That's when I'll get to go and see it.
Okay, cool.
Because she loved that, so...
I freaking love Pixar. I think their goal is just to, like, get people to cry, though, and I'm a big crybaby. So, anyway, this movie, Inside Out 2... I just think does such an incredible job. And of course, they introduced anxiety in this one.
Of course. Because it's gone into the teenage years.
Yeah. And it was such a beautiful, I just think they did such a beautiful job. They even showed in animation, like a panic attack, the grounding after it. I think is just so important. And I'm glad that that's being shown to young people, especially because I think we don't know how to deal with all of those feelings. And that there's also a place where they can all sit together, and that it kind of makes up every part of us. But we were talking about how that movie obviously took so many years, and like any film takes just so long in that creative process. And because you need that to kind of think everything through. And I think that in any creative process, there has to be, the moments of complete panic or complete unknown or complete stillness to observe what is going on, to know the story that you're telling.
You have to experience the range, don't you? You have to. So if we're looking at writing, and like you say, you have these moments of writer's block. In that moment, you might be like, oh, but I've got to write this because that's stopping me from getting to the finish, where when I get to the finish, then I can have some money to be able to afford to pay my rent. Or you've got like all these dreams for like a year down the future, and so you stress in this moment of pause. But really, within the moment of pause, I think that's where I've discovered all the wonderful things happen. Yeah. Where we sit there and daydream. Yeah. Where we let our imagination do whatever it wants to do. Yeah. To go and explore ideas, to go and think about dreams or nightmares, or just see. Yeah. Just go and explore into imagination can be a really good thing. And so we shouldn't panic when we have writer's block. Right. Exactly. We should just sit in it. Just sit in it. Yeah. It's so important. Yeah. To not freak out. So where did this start for you, this creative life? Have you always been this way? Or was there like a point when you were really young that you got on the stage for the first time? I was born this way. No. Well, you laugh and you're like, I was born like I said, I talk about my daughter so much on this, and she'd hate it if she knows. Oh, I love it. But when she doesn't know. No, because she won't ever listen. So is she the 15-year-old? She's the 15-year-old. Okay, yeah, she would hate it. But when she was born, like, I put on music when she was like a couple of days old or whatever, and she was wriggling. and she hasn't stopped dancing since.
Oh,
like
yeah.
you can see it, like it was just amazing to like see a human grow with like music, and she's got involved with the theatre, and now she's in a band. But I just see it like this creativity oozing out of her, and like she has to do it. And last night she's up at like 12 o'clock like playing a guitar, working out a song, and I'm like, school tomorrow, and she's like, yeah, but I'm in the moment. And I'm kind of like, I want that. I want her to be in the moment and figuring out a song, but she's also got to get up for school.
Yeah. I also love that she said that. I'm in the zone.
Yeah,
Dad.
I'm in the zone. Like, leave me alone. It doesn't matter. It's 12 o'clock at night and we've got neighbours and things. But yeah, so I do think that there is creativity within us from when we're born.
Yeah, I think so
too.
But
then there's some people that do discover it later on in life.
Yeah, absolutely. Which I think like they're still probably born with that, but the discovery of that,
So maybe it is instinctively within us.
Yeah.
But then we go to
late
school.
To puberty.
Yeah, maybe we go we go to school and we're told like life has to be a certain way because like our parents might want us to grow up and be a doctor or a lawyer because they want you to have a stable career and support your family.
Yeah.
Which being an artist isn't very stable. So a lot of parents say to their kids, maybe this isn't the thing that you should be doing.
Yeah.
You know.
We all get that talked over.
Yeah. So you get it worked out of you.
Yeah.
Don't you at the same time?
I think absolutely. And I think that for me though, the answer to that was always, because I definitely got the talk from my parents when I did. So I guess you asked when it started for me. It started as dance for me as well. So I started doing tap and jazz and ballet when I was, I want to say maybe 8. And then I remember I was at this performing arts school taking these dance classes, and they were having auditions for Charlotte's Web. And I did not get it, but one of the nights I still got to like be a part of I was the tech team or whatever. And one of the nights, one of the fair pigs got sick. So I got to fill in as a fair pig. And I remember standing backstage, I was watching the girl that was playing Charlotte on her web, and the way that she like moved and on her web and spoke. I stood backstage as an 8-year-old and just cried watching her because it was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. And I was so moved as a kid watching this spider that I was just like, I just want to be her. Like it was the first moment where I just like, it was the most inspiration I had ever felt at a young age, and I just was like, I have to do that. Like,
Tell me more about what was going through your mind when you was watching her. How did that feel?
I think it was just like, I just thought it was so beautiful, and I think I wanted people to maybe feel that way about me, as well. And maybe then I wasn't thinking that at the time. I was just thinking, wow. But I think it has definitely evolved into that. There is something so empowering about this kind of work. And I think I've always, just as a person, for various issues that I now know because of therapy that we don't have to dive into, but I have always struggled with self-esteem and my self-worth, and have also always struggled with my voice. In knowing how to, it's the knowing yourself thing, and it's knowing how to speak out. And I was kind of always like a floater, and I always followed the crowd, and and even in my own house, I didn't feel really strong enough to voice my own opinions or have my own like thoughts. And I found, of course, my own ways of like rebelling, in order, I think, to find that voice. But even as an adult, I have struggled with that. I've always, I was married for 10 years, and to a beautiful, wonderful person. But in that, my anxiety was just so rampant at that time that like I would have to ask him to approve texts before I sent them. That's how bad and codependent it was at that time. I just have always struggled to feel strong in myself. And for whatever reason, acting has been that thing for me, that it is the only place I am able to risk. It is the only place that I feel confident about decisions. And I'm not really sure why, but I for all of the instability that comes with this career, it is the only time that I feel most empowered. And so I think very early on, I realized that, and it was just like, it's this or nothing for me. Mm-hmm. And so even going to junior college, my parents, of course, were like, you need a plan B, plan B, plan B. What's the other career path we're doing here? And I was like, there's not a plan B. Mm-hmm. It's just this. I'm doing this. So I did the 2 years at junior college, and then just chose to dive in and get my BFA in acting, and then, have just been pursuing it since, and got my master's also in acting. Mm-hmm. The first time I tried to get my master's was in arts administration, and I was like, what am I doing to myself? I hate this so much. So,
but don't you? Yeah. There's something instinctual, is that a word?
Yeah.
Instinctive.
Yeah.
There's like an instinct that we just know when something's not right.
Not right.
That we're not in the right place. We're not doing the right thing. We're not following the right.
Not for us.
The path is not. This is not how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
For what I'm capable of doing, and it sounds to me like you do have a voice that's burning to come out of you. That needs a way to escape, and performing and acting gives you that.
Absolutely.
And it gives you that with some boundaries. So there's some safety.
Yeah,
within
exactly.
it.
Yeah, there is.
So you can have a script. You get a director.
Yeah.
You've got a community of people all around you.
Yeah.
So there's so you can express yourself. You can say stuff. You can be you.
Absolutely. I think it is the way to, I think, fully embrace yourself. And even it has been the way for me to fully even love all of the unlovable parts of me, which as human, we are so lovable and so unlovable at the same mm-hmm. time. And so it has been a way to reconcile the things that I don't really like about myself either. And in giving me a space to be fully messy and fully vulnerable and fully raw and fully just ugly even, I think, which is another one of the reasons that I think I needed to get out of LA as well, is because I needed a place to, I think, fully step into myself as an artist, because I mm-hmm. hadn't established that. I got lost in the sea, so
in the superficial stuff that was coming out of there. You need to look this way, you need to speak this way, and you need to be someone who you're not.
Yeah.
And exactly. It sounds like you made a really brave decision to escape that.
Yeah, let's call it that.
What would you call it?
Definitely.
What would you call it?
I mean, of course, I think, I definitely think it's brave. There are moments, of course, where you're like, the fuck have I done mm-hmm. with my life? You know what I mean? But I think it is quite brave. I just think moving to a new country is brave. Mm-hmm. I think chasing your dreams is brave as well. Anybody who I think has the courage to just wake up and say, I really want this thing, and I want to write my life, and I want to define myself, I think is just brave.
When you're doing the right thing, when you're following your dreams, does anything happen to you along the way that tells you you're doing the right thing? Because we talked about how when you're doing the wrong thing, we feel it and we know instinctively it's wrong. But when you're following the right path and you're being true to yourself, is there anything that helps along that way?
It is tricky, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think I'm a quite spiritual person. Mm-hmm. I grew up Christian. I do absolutely believe in God, and I am also a very I wouldn't say I'm a practicing Christian at the time. There's some tension there, and I've stepped away from the church in the last number of years. An organized religion, I guess.
When you say tension, is that within yourself?
Yeah, mm-hmm. I think within myself, I think within the church community, I think we all go through phases in life, right? Of faith and finding what we believe in this system. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, it has been redefining that and refinding that, really. And I think that you don't really know what you believe unless it's tested. Mm-hmm. And so I think the last number of years have been a series of testing, but I think that I've always believed, for me anyway, in creation, and that I am a part of creation. And I think I'm like a signs person too. So I look for signs everywhere. Mm-hmm. And I think, so it can be really confusing at times, because I think when nothing is going the way that it should, that can feel like a telling moment where you're like, oh, you're not where you should be. Mm-hmm. You're on the wrong path, lady. Get out of there. You know what I mean? Yeah. But like, I also think that trials and tribulations bring character. They produce character, and like, it's sometimes you have to work through the difficult stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I think like there were a number of, I think, really cool signs I felt led me here. Mm-hmm. But it also has come with just a lot of, you know,
a lot of trials, a lot of
trials,
a lot of testing, yeah,
definitely.
And that's the same for me. If I look back at my life, and I look back at the hardest moments, the times when I just didn't know what to do, or felt alone, or I was struggling, or the times that were the most difficult were the times that prepared me for the best times.
Yeah.
And made the best times what they were. Yeah. And prepared me for where I am now and where I'm going to now. And if I hadn't have had those hard times, then would I have been ready to move forward? Yeah. Would I have been in those situations where someone comes to me and says, oh, I want to do a business with you, and I feel it's wrong, to be able to just go, no, this isn't for me. Mm-hmm. If everything had been easy, I might have just been like, yeah.
Right.
And gone off on the wrong path.
Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely, the lessons are, and we never stop learning.
No.
Yeah, but it's so important. It's, again, sitting in the tension again, and navigating through the storms in life, because mm-hmm. It's going to happen. It's life. It's, but I think it's about just getting back up again. Mm-hmm. As often as you can, and not becoming discouraged. Or I have a brain, unfortunately, that loves to despair. Okay. It's very easy for me to despair and to fall into this like, woe is me. Mm-hmm. And I have to be really careful to check that in myself, and to remind myself, okay, it's okay. This is a period of time, mm-hmm. you know.
I wonder if that, I've started to notice with some people, and I might be wrong, if that's got anything to do with your storytelling brain, that you go to this story in your head, that you go to this place of despair, and when you go there, it is a story, isn't it? For me, that's when I go to despair, I'm telling myself this is how things are going and how things are going to pan out. Yeah. But then if I sit back and look at that, I'm like, that was just a story. Yeah. And I'm a writer, therefore that's who I am and what I do. So I've got to like recognize that. Yeah. Is that possible?
Absolutely, because mm-hmm. I think it's so, I mean, that's what anxiety is, right? It is just like panning out all of the possible futures.
And where you're so creative, you can think of 50.
Right, yeah.
And some of those can look really dark, can't they?
Absolutely,
and sometimes we forget to look at the good ones a little bit more and give them more weight.
Absolutely, yeah. And so I think like also, I think when you're quite emotional as well, to not just become swallowed by that, to like, I think I have to constantly reminding myself, like, I am not an emotion. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to always respond from that place, from an emotional place, and I often do, and that has led me, you know, into trouble a lot. And so I think like you have to again wait for the moment to pass, so that you can, make a more rational.
One good thing that I learned to do from my years of having anxiety was, someone told me once a very simple phrase: "Is it true?" Is it like and like of all the things you're telling yourself, is it true? Like, which one of them is true? And all of the anxiety that I've had, it's you look at it all and go, well, actually, none of it's true right now for me. None of it's true. All of it's imagined. All of it's storytelling.
It requires a great deal of self-awareness, doesn't it? Though.
Yes.
You have to be honest with yourself.
And I'd say that took me to about the age of 38, 39 to only start to get that.
How old are you?
I'm 39, nearly
Okay,
40.
okay.
Yeah,
so this year.
So this year, yeah, no, seriously.
Congratulations, that's great.
Thank you. But no, I do feel like it's a recent thing. I feel
Okay.
like, yeah, last year started to come into that of like, starting to be a bit more self-aware.
Absolutely, yeah.
It took me a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I think for all of us as well.
And I'm not there yet. And I'm not like. And when I say I'm there, I'm not there. I know I'm not there.
Yeah.
I'm on the path to understanding.
Yes.
Where what that looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's really beautiful though that you're continuing that work, because I do think that people at some point decide they don't want to do that work anymore.
I'm done. I've discovered all I'm comfortable with discovering.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm only comfortable going
this far,
and any further could break me.
Yeah.
But I think for me, what happened with me is I got broken. I went to the lowest. I went to the darkest point.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where I needed to go, to be able to almost start again.
Come back up.
Come back up and come back and go. Everything after that isn't so bad.
Yeah.
To have a point of grounding of I know what death could potentially look like, and I know how lonely I could be.
Yeah.
It's been bad. So now, yeah.
How long has it been in this rebuilding?
I'd say it's about 2 years.
Okay.
It's about 2 years ago. I had an event, and then I left my wife, and then I was just alone in the world, and I don't like to put a label with homeless, but just lost.
Just felt,
lost, and I didn't actually have anywhere to live, and I was sleeping on sofas and things, and I was I've just built all this thing up, a family and a home, and I've just decided to stop all that.
Yeah.
And who am I in amongst all of that? And my career is awful. I haven't got a career. None of the normal jobs have ever worked out for me. The acting hasn't worked, and I'm just hitting my head against a brick wall. And then I was I had a moment of pause. I was just alone, completely alone for a little while, and in there somewhere restarted, and I'm discovering stuff.
Yeah.
And this started doing this, sitting down, talking to people, and working out. There's actually a journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely is. How long were you married?
14 years.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it is. It is really wild, everything you just said, because I went through something very similar. Mm-hmm. It's difficult living without 14 years. It's difficult living without your partner, because your life is built, and you had children together as well.
Mm-hmm. And I had ideas that was it.
Yeah.
I kind of just said to myself, that's how I remember getting married thinking, this is it. Yeah. I didn't think anything different. And then a lot of things happened in life, and she got very ill during a lot of our marriage. I was a carer for her.
Yeah.
She's had cancer 4 times.
Oh wow.
She's had a very difficult life, and I was so much in supporting her. I was never looking after myself. Okay. In just give. I completely let go of who I was.
Yeah.
And then just got to this point of I feel like a failure, and a mess, and in amongst feeling like that, and I wasn't even. I've got so many good things to look at as well. My children are wonderful, and they're growing up to be great human beings, and at no point in that moment of despair was I looking at the good stuff.
Yeah.
And so I had to pause and be alone for a little while, to start to look at the good stories.
Yeah. Can I ask, is your wife in remission?
Yeah,
now,
she's healthy now.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
That's
she
good.
still has some health problems, but
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is so. It is difficult. You do feel coming out of that like you are homeless.
Mm-hmm.
It's like starting at zero again and learning. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And who are you outside of this person and these people, and is there still an artist in there? It is very.
And I think the people that go, I think we all go through stuff.
Yeah.
But I think the best artists have gone through things.
Yeah.
They've got something that they can look at the world and reflect on.
Yeah.
Because would I have been able to do the thing? I definitely wouldn't been able to do this.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't be me. I remember going to go on a radio interview once at like a local radio station, and I was like, I can't do that. Like, I can't. I don't know what I'd say. Like, there's no script there. I can't. Yeah, I just can't.
Yeah, I hate that as well, though. Like, yeah.
Because you're being you. Whereas now I have absolutely zero fear of being me. Like, I've just put this out there, like, about me being at my lowest. Because I also think there's some value in it. Mm-hmm. I think there's some value. I think there's other people out there that are going through things like that, and in that moment, don't know that they're not alone. Like, I really felt alone for a little while.
Yeah.
And I wasn't, but I thought I was.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to say it so that other people know that they're not alone.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. Do you still feel like that now, or?
Yeah, of course. Like, I don't think you'll never not feel in certain ways and not have moments.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm comfortable with being alone now.
That's
because
so
I went
huge.
because I went to like the most alone that I could be.
Yeah.
I think maybe I could be more alone, but yeah, I went to a very low place that now it's like, well, yeah, I spend a lot of time I got a shed in my garden, and I spend a lot of time in there doing writing and doing some of my podcasts from there. But I spend a lot of time in a small shed or here alone.
Yeah.
But I'm completely okay with that.
Yeah.
And again, because I have nice little moments like this.
Yeah. I was going to ask, what was that? What was the healing journey, or what was the creative part in your journey back to yourself?
For me, the creative part of the healing journey was not getting hung up on the identity of who I was before. So I'm an actor, and I do theatre shows for a bit of income, and I do writing when it's necessary. But I'm an actor. That's what I put all my effort into. So I must be that.
Yeah.
But I put that aside and went, I don't have to be an actor to do the creative stuff. Actually, I quite enjoy just sitting down writing. And in this past year, I thought I was writing one book, but I've wrote 3 in this past year. What? Because the one book I've decided that it's not one book. I've decided like it's 3 different things. And it's only like first draft stuff, but it's there. It's a work in progress.
I think that's incredible.
But that, just sitting there with myself and letting these thoughts come out onto the page and not having any rules about I'm doing this for monetary gain or because it might boost my ego in some way. None of that now. It is just freedom. It is just, this is what I'm doing.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Thank you.
It is. It's really cool.
But it's not, people listening, but it might be like, oh, but that's just, I can't do that. Like, I've got responsibilities and I've got, it's difficult.
Yeah.
And it is. Yeah. I'm not going to lie, it's difficult. But then sometimes I choose to throw myself into the creative stuff, because I find a lot of peace there.
Yeah.
Over sometimes maybe more sociable things.
Yeah.
Or maybe maybe I should be pursuing the financial side of life a bit more. maybe I should be looking at, someone said to me recently, you should go and get a job for Deliveroo or something. Just, but it doesn't feel right.
Okay.
To me, and right now I don't have to.
Okay.
I'm just getting by.
Okay.
And I feel like that's okay. Like, I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
Like, day to day, that's okay right now.
Okay.
And I'm building something.
Because you know where you're going.
Because I know where I'm going. And I think that's a huge difference.
Yeah. It does give you some peace of mind, right? I think that I read once, and I'm going to completely butcher it, but it was, we risk more when there's some part of us that is stable. So you can play, there's freedom in playing, and I think when we are grounded. And I think that's an important part of if we're floating, or if we are, if we feel lost or homeless, and that is such psychological warfare, and really is a hindrance in us being living out our fullest potential as artists. And so I think like it really is important to find footing in something, and like you said, that peace is so important. And so for anybody that's even stuck in, let's say, a 9-to-5 job that they hate, or stuck in circumstances that they don't want to be in, I think you have to find a creative shed. You have to find a theater. You have to find something that gives you some peace of mind, that where you can play a little bit and be. And it's weird because the play then, I think, maybe does become your stability.
Yes, definitely. And it did when we were kids. If you think about when you was like at school, and I don't know how the school system is in America, but over here, when you're at school, you have 2 break times. I'm trying to think of like when I'm back at primary school. And
you had 2 break times?
Yeah, like one in the morning, and then one at lunch. But it was those break times was where I felt like I could just be me.
Okay, yeah.
And I could be free, and I could just do my thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas when you're in the class, then I started to feel suppressed on who I was.
Yeah.
Particularly because I didn't understand anything that was happening at school.
Okay.
like that was part of it as well. I was like, that was the only time my imagination could just
go
do its thing.
Yeah. One of the classes that I took last year that had like a profound impact on me was, we talked about that, about how it's so important to be able to, in our work, to return to child. It's so important to do that, I think, in general in life, is to be able to return to child, I think, which is also why I love Pixar and go see Inside Out too. But I think like, especially as actors, because I think when you're a kid and somebody tells you to run, you do not hesitate. You just run, like you're told to jump and you just jump. You are just willing to do these things that now as adults we have like all of these
rules.
Yes, so many rules, and so much like, weighing in our brains at all times, or what will people think about me if I do this, or what, you know what I mean? Like, it's so much anxiety and so many different thoughts and intrusive thoughts happening at all times. That prevents us from being just like, being your fullest and I think most brave, maybe. Can you tell I don't know what I'm talking about anymore? What did you say before?
About finding the play, and that was a moment of in this period of like feeling a bit lost. I went and joined a drama group.
Okay, good.
And that was the drama teacher there. That was his whole thing, was play. Yeah. And I'd kind of gone like, I should have been doing that as an actor, and I forgot to do that. Yeah. In acting, like we call theatre going to watch a play, people playing, and like over the past 20 years, I was like, when did I stop playing? I stopped playing like really early on, and started like thinking too much about the mechanics of everything and how all this should be, and about that people observing and what do other people think too much. That I stopped playing, and I went to this and I don't think I've stopped playing since I went to that that drama thing.
Yeah, and which is great. And I think for me, I was questioning, like, why is it then that, because I had said maybe the play becomes that, the stability or the footing or the foundation. And I was wondering, how is that then? I think that maybe it is the returning to self. You know, it is returning, because we do have, all of us have that in us, the ability to go back to play, the ability to go back to child, and to find our sense of self again. But we do get so hung up on, all these other life things. We get, I think, just too scared to...
We kind of get dragged down, don't we?
Yeah.
It's like all these things that happen in life, weigh us down. And somehow we've got to, like, cut the cord of all them weights, pulling us down and be free again. And yeah. But it's not easy. That's the thing.
Of course not.
Like, we're talking through this.
That is the work.
It's the work.
Yeah.
And I do think, and going through the work and having the hard times, I think there is something beautiful on the other side.
Absolutely.
To discover. And I think I do think it benefits the work.
I think so too, yeah. And it is the process, right? We do love the process. If there was, that's what makes the story. You have to have conflict. You have to find a way to work through the conflict. And if there's not, there's just not really a story, is there?
And how much value would you give to the thing? Let's say you make it as an actor. You're up there holding the Oscar, like the moment that proves your, that's like a moment that we say proves our worth. But you're there at the very top and you were just handed it. Would there actually be any value in that?
Yeah.
If you hadn't gone through all that, would you get to that moment and just be like, meh? Yeah. Or would you be like, wow, I did it, and it's an achievement?
We do have, I think there is, we do feel like we have to not only prove to a lot of other people, but I find, for me anyway, I'm also just trying to prove to myself a lot of times. That I can do hard things. You know what I mean? Like, I even wrote it on my mirror once. It was like, I did like a words of like affirmation. Like, I was like, you can do hard things.
I like that, affirmation.
Yeah. Because I need like a pep talk every once in a while, because I am such a, it's that despair brain again, where I so quickly want to throw the towel in and just be done, and like, and
this is hard. Like, life is hard.
It's hard. It is like, so hard.
It's difficult, and you've got some challenge. We've all got challenges. You've got some challenges, and how do you do that sometimes without the pep talk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it is, for me now, I'm finding a lot of joy and energy, and maybe even like cheekiness in the proving myself wrong on a lot of the things that I had given up on before. And maybe that's why I've made it kind of a mission to finish projects now. I've made it a mission to move to scary places.
London.
Like I think for me now, it really is about doing, because you get one life, and it is really about going all in. Because if you're not, then what are you doing? You just have to.
How do you tell me more about affirmation?
I just made that up in this moment. But yeah, I do. I often write things on my mirror to myself.
Okay.
I also journal a lot. Do you journal?
I don't, because I get caught up in the creative stuff. I've tried it.
Okay.
But then it turns into something else sometimes.
I journal all the time. It is because otherwise too, I think I would forget everything if I didn't. But I journal quite a bit, and it's quite therapeutic for me as well, as is dance. I found like either journaling or movement of some kind are kind of my therapy and my return to self. And I think, the words of affirmation are just like it is, I think it's just a pep talk for me every day to also, I think, be more intentional about my life. Because I think it is also too easy to let day by day pass you by. And you had all these things you wanted to do and you didn't do any of it because you're just concentrating on the survival of every day. Whereas if you are being, I think, consistent and intentional about the things that you actually want to accomplish, or the things that you, I guess it's the same as goal setting, maybe.
Yeah. And you said it there, having an intentional life.
Yeah.
And even the stuff that we're talking here is quite funny. Like, I'm thinking things through now. See, I used to do too much intentional living.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, whereas I was trying to, every day had to be intentional, and every moment had to be intentional. Whereas now, and that feels like too much of a core part of me, that I have to try and let go of that. That sometimes you can do stuff that's unintentional, like just go for a walk.
Absolutely, yeah.
And just live. And
yes. I mean, that's huge. Mm-hmm. There has to be balance. You have to have moments too where you get lost. Mm-hmm. I think now, though, and I don't know if it might not be the best, but it is definitely the phase of life I'm in right now in this particular moment. If I'm getting lost, I'm getting lost on purpose. Mm-hmm. So I have to, does have to be kind of all set for me, because I think for me, a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear and worry for me comes in, like, I'm older now, and I sabotaged a lot of opportunities, and I missed out on things, and like I should be further. My should voice is so loud. It's mm-hmm. insane. So I think that in order to, I think, combat some of that, I do create it's just a purpose. It's living on purpose. It's one thing I can do every day. Mm-hmm. And then it's giving myself the pep talk, like, yes, you can do this thing. And of course you're not writing a to-do list. Mm-hmm. So it's not like that. I'm not creating like a 3 pages of like tasks I have to do that day. I'm just kind of, it's like what you do before a yoga practice, I guess. It's setting mm-hmm. an intention for the day. And then just like reminding yourself that you are capable of doing that, of following through. Mm-hmm. Because I think that I've had a track record of not always following through. And it's given a lot of insecurity to me. And so I like to remind myself that's not who I am. That might have been some of the decisions I've made, but I can follow through on things, Mm-hmm.
And all of these things are different tool sets for different people. So what might work for you doesn't necessarily work
Absolutely.
For another person.
Yeah. What I do actually stresses some people out. Sorry? Yeah. I think whatever system I've like adopted into my life,
it doesn't necessarily work for everyone.
It stresses some
you.
people,
mm-hmm.
Out majorly. I just had a conversation with my friend, and she was like, "This stresses me." Like hearing me talk about it, she's like, "I can't,"
mm-hmm.
because
we're different people.
Absolutely,
we have different personalities, and we have different purposes.
Yes.
As well, don't we?
Yeah.
So, what would you say is your purpose then, moving forward? If you're trying to live intentional, what is that intention towards?
I think about this all the time. And you know what? I think my purpose in life honestly doesn't have anything to do with acting, if I'm being honest. Mm-hmm. I think my purpose in life is to love. And I think that is kind of all of our purpose. Mm-hmm. And I think if we are here on earth doing life with each other and we are encountering each other, it is to really just love each other the best we can. Mm-hmm. And I think if I am doing that well is when I do feel my best kind of as a person and my most whole. And that goes for anything. I think love in general, I think that also goes for what we do. If we bring it back to the creative life, if you're pouring love into what you do, you're going to get the most fulfillment out of that. If you are being the best parent, if you are being the best partner, if you are being the best. And I can look back on all of my biggest failures in my life, and the things that I would describe as, I guess, my ghosts are the moments when I have not been my most loving. So I think that, I think my purpose is that.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful and quite profound, actually, to not, as an actor, you hear a lot of actors go, well, my purpose is to be on the West End, but you're bringing it to something more profound in life and more meaningful.
Yeah, I mean, because I think at the end of this life, it doesn't really matter if we were on the West End or not, you know? That's the dream, of course. Like, we all would love that. We would all love to have these momentous moments in our career. I think maybe the older I get, the more I'm realizing that as much as I still would love to perform at the National Theater or do, like, work with these incredible directors in Hollywood, like, I want to know that I don't think my legacy is that. I don't think it is what I leave behind acting wise. I think it is truly how I impact other people. I think it is how I treat other people. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. So what about career wise? How are you gonna purposely look at your career moving forward? Because that's difficult as an actor. But I see you doing some great things. I see that you've been writing and directing your own films.
You have to, yeah. Yeah.
You have to? Do you have to? Do you?
I think so. I think it's really important that actors are writing and creating their own stuff, not just because also everyone's being told they have to. But I do think you actually have to. Because for a couple of reasons. I think because we leave so much of our trajectory to circumstances outside of ourselves, and we put all of the power into other people's hands at all times. And it is the moment that we get to take the power back for ourselves and say, despite whatever you might think, this is actually what I do. It's what I do well. It's what I've been trained to do, and it's what I'm going to do. And so and then you just do it. And I think, like, you still audition, you still network, you still put your best self out there, you still make whatever connections you need to. You still invest in all of, I think, maybe the more standard approaches to this thing. But I think also you really have to create your own opportunities as well. And that's also a really fulfilling thing that I found as well. And a lot of my friends are finding that as well too, producing your own work, because then you get to work on what you actually want to. It goes back to, like, saying no and yes to things. You get to say yes to the things that you actually want to do. And I think you learn so much about yourself as a person. You realize that your potential is beyond what you thought it was. You kind of realize where your boundaries are and what you're not okay with. You kind of realize your breaking points as a person, where you've reached your max. I think it's so telling, it's so developing, and I'm really enjoying. I'm also getting super nasally. So. Hay fever, yeah. But I think, I just think, how are you finding that? Because you're also doing your own stuff.
Yeah, that I spent 15 plus years asking people, can I be part of your thing?
Yeah.
And being like, I don't enjoy any part of this, asking to be part of something. And I'm not a great auditioner as well, because I'm dyslexic. So if I'm thrown a script and I'm asked to just perform that piece of script, it was never gonna work out well for me. That actually I look at the things that I've done and I'm like, I was actually pretty lucky sometimes to get where I did get to, because I didn't have the basic skill sets to be able to be asked to be part of someone else's thing. And that whole thing of asking others for permission to do my life. I was like, there were some points that I was auditioning like 2 or 3 times a week, and I was getting a lot of auditions coming at one point, and just nothing happening, but I'd still push on. And it was like I got to the point of this story in my head that no one wants to play with me. Like, I'm this kid in the playground. I'm this kid in the playground, and I'm asking everyone, can we play together? And I'm like showing them my best me, and they're like, I don't want to play.
They're like, not that guy.
No thanks. You're like the last one we'll pick, and I hated that. Man. I'm just not in that anymore. I'm just not in that space. And I worked out that whilst I love acting, that's not my purpose. That's not what I'm here for. Like, you can enjoy something, but it not be who you are.
You're everything,
And what I'm doing now is more who I am, and no one can stop me now. Like, that's a song, isn't it? Like, like,
it is.
Don't stop me now. Like, you can't, because I'm doing me now. I'm not waiting for permission. I'm not asking others to play. In fact, I'm inviting others to play with me now. Like, I'm like, Ash, do you want to come in and come and play on the podcast? Like, that's what I do now. Like, and I've got tons of people that want to play with me now. And
I love that.
And like, I'm doing I've got a live show that I'm doing in like 6 weeks' time here, like a live podcast here, which you have to come along to and watch. Cool, in fact, by the time this comes out, it'll be about a week away. But live show, mix of entertainment and talks a night. And I messaged like 8 people, and every one of them said yes. Like, I was like, do you want to be part of this? And they're like, of course. And like, before, when I was trying to do the acting thing, I just I couldn't find people to play with me. Whereas now I can. You know, because I'm doing me.
Because you're not asking permission anymore. Exactly.
And I'm inviting others along.
I think it's changing the industry. I really do think that. I think the more that you find actors coming up into directing opportunities, into producing opportunities, and who are writing their own things, we're finding that we're working a lot more with our peers and with people who have had these same feelings of like not being chosen on the team. And you're like, that person relates to me and they see me, and all of a sudden now we're not working in a career where we're begging to be seen. We're just automatically seen by each other, which is cool.
And I feel like we're in a lucky time where the tools can become available to you to do that as well. Like, I'm recording this on my phone. You know, and then the sounds on the lap, like all stuff that we can just have at home.
These are quite fancy, though.
Yeah, these are quite, like, okay, I've invested a bit of money in this as it's grown, as this becomes the thing. But to start with, if you go back to episode number 1, it is literally just my mobile phone. Like,
I love that.
You know, we've got mobile phones, haven't we now? Like, who hasn't got a mobile phone with a camera on?
It's true,
So if you want to just start the thing, okay, I was talking to a director recently that he actually met Ridley Scott. And Ridley Scott said to him, as a director, just pick up your mobile phone and make something. And he came away from that with the thought of like, that's just bullshit. Like, you've got like £100 million to make an Aliens movie. I can't make an Aliens movie on my phone.
Right.
But you can start, I think, is what the message is.
Yeah, of course.
Like, you can build. Like, I started with the mobile phone, I then got the tripod, and then got the microphone. Like, it's building. It's not instant. It's not straight away.
Absolutely, it is building, and I think it is also sharing. And I struggle with this so much because I'm a perfectionist, and like I say, yes, my purpose is to like love or whatever, but also I very much want to be defined as an actor, you know, like I do want my identity to be so caught up in that people are like, that's just who she is. And so I think there is, in the back of my mind, sharing things that are in process is always very scary to me because it's not at the level that you want it to be. And like, we so want to do very high quality, and I think we should, I think high quality should be the pursuit of everything we do, that we should always be we should care the most about everything we do, but starting somewhere and knowing that you can also share that thing that is messy and in process as well, because I think there's so much vulnerability in that, and it empowers other people as well to do this, to do the same thing.
And that's what I hope with leaving. So this is a year into this doing this podcast thing. And someone recently said to me, you should maybe go back and delete like the first 10 episodes. And I'm like, because there are mistakes in there. There are some messy bits. There's one where I do a video call with someone and the sound is like completely out of sync, that I went back and re-recorded all my bits. And it just sounds terrible and it looks terrible. And like, she did great and it was like great conversation from her, but everything about me was just awful. And so, yeah, someone said, go back and just delete them once. And I'm like, no, I want people to see
journey,
that. Yeah. I want, when I'm perfect 5 years from now, when I've reached the perfection, and everyone's like, oh, well, he's always been perfect, hasn't he? I'll be like, no, go back 5 years ago. Go back and look at episode number 1 of this, and episode number 8. Like, go back and see, like, it was...
It's important,
yeah. It was messy. It was a scribble.
Yeah.
You know, it was... yeah.
It was a dream, like a spark note.
A seed of an idea that then you watered, and then it grew into something that looks great.
I do. I think it's so important for people to see that. Because it humanizes it as well, right? And I think, and I think you're doing an incredible job. I can see the growth that's definitely happened in the last couple of years. And even, when did you and I first start talking about maybe doing this? Was it last year or like a couple?
Yeah, I think, do you know what? I can't remember when I reached out to you or how I came across you.
I feel like it was a bit ago.
Have we got mutual friends?
I honestly don't know.
Because that's where I start. So where I started with this was like, I had my friends that I knew would help me out. Yeah. And then I had like that outer circle of friends that I thought might be interested in getting involved. And then I heard of someone else that's doing a podcast. I was like, why don't we do a joint one? And then it just like, I started to have like these circles that started to reach out. And then I started going, right, now I want to look for actors and actresses and artists. And I started looking on Instagram for people that were putting themselves out there as actors and artists and things.
I think it was definitely through Instagram. But I think it was a while ago that we made first like contact. And I think even since then I've watched the podcast is booming. It does feel like it's definitely like taking off, and which is really exciting. I think even like your intros and all of the graphics and stuff that you're doing is really fantastic.
Discovering like that. Like in the first few, I'd sit there at the beginning and talk to the camera and be like, "My name is Martin, and I am talking today." I've left that there. It looks crap. I've left it there because I had to discover that wasn't like how this is going to be. Yeah. And this isn't like, I started to discover what people started giving me feedback. Yeah. And they were like, I really like it that you're not cutting bits out and that you're leaving like the real authenticity in there. And even like the moments where like, there's one of them where I spill water down myself and someone mentioned to me, they're like, I'm so happy you left that in. Yeah. Because it just shows you. Yeah. Yeah. Like, and we all do moments like that. Yeah. Whereas like maybe like 5 years from now where I've got the polished final product, maybe I will cut moments like that. Yeah. I don't know. But it's like a working process. Yeah. And like working out what bits do I leave in, what do I leave out, and what shape is this taking? Yeah. And I'm like, I guess I see it like a piece of plasticine. Yeah. Like I'm moulding it, and I might work out a little bit's nice over here, and then it's not over there, and it's growing. It's really growing. It's doing really great, and it is cool to see. I think I definitely enjoy seeing like the journey and the process of it. Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate that. That's cool. So I'm excited to see where it goes. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. And I'm excited to see where your journey takes you as well. Me too. What is the if you could jump in a time machine, right? We're in a time machine right now. These two sofas, they've got like a special lever, and they take you put in the dial 5 years from now. Okay. What does the ideal look like? I think I have dreams that are quite bigger than me. And so I'm always a little scared to say them out loud. Going back to like talking about what we were literally talking about seconds ago. So I have a play that I've been writing called Asylum, and it was part of my dissertation that I worked on last year. Mm-hmm. And I workshopped it in LA, and I am going to be workshopping it in London as well. It's just huge. In my brain, it is just huge. The vision is huge, and I cannot make it smaller. Mm-hmm. Do you have to make it smaller? I guess not, but I think that it's just going to require so much work and so much connection. It just feels like this thing that is just bigger than me. Mm-hmm. But I have an Instagram account for Asylum. Mm-hmm.
And when I was walking through Battersea Art Center the other day, I was like, oh, this place is so sick. This would be such a cool, like, immersive art experience for Pan's Asylum, because I want it to be quite immersive. And I just decided to create a video saying, hey, this is the space that I'm dreaming about. And like, I think that even scared me and gave me so much anxiety afterwards. And I was like, this is so pathetic. Why post anything like this when this is not a guarantee? And like, also, what if you never finish this thing? What if it flops? What if it,
It's all the stories again.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then I was like, no, I think it's important to share the seeds. I really do think it's important to share the seeds. Because, for all of the reasons that we just talked about. So I think in 5 years, I'm a playwright, that Pan's Asylum has definitely happened, but also acting wise, I would love to just be established. I would love to be working on something that allows me to go into work every day as an actor. Whether that's at National Theatre, whether I'm working on back-to-back films in Australia, or whether I'm working on a 10-year-long TV series. Isn't that everyone's dream? I just want to like trade in, I think, all of my other side hustles. So in 5 years, I will just have like, I think I will be established and rooted in a career that feels like it has some momentum and longevity. I don't need to have arrived at the point yet. I'm quite okay with it taking however long it needs to take, because I think I settled in my mind a long time ago that it's just this or nothing, so like I die doing this basically. But I would like for that to just kind of be the only thing that I do. And I think that also 5 years from now, I just am, I mean, obviously I have like goals as well. Like I'd love to be in love again. I would love to have taken care of all of my debt. But I think I just want to maybe feel content, because I think that is also a struggle for artists as well. Is just to feel content wherever they are in life. And I think that maybe if I take care of those other external things, I might feel content, or maybe it's all of the internal work that needs to still be done that will help me arrive there. But in 5 years from now, that's where I will be.
There's definitely going to be a journey to get there.
Yeah.
And what do you think you could do on the next step to lead towards that dream?
Which one?
to have your play on, and to and I think the dreams are close together. Finding that, to have the dream of having your play on and that contentment are obviously closely linked, aren't they?
I think so. Yeah. I think it is. It's a to-do list, is what it is. I think of making the right connections, of meeting people, of finding the income, of finding the spaces, of really finalizing the story, because it still is changing all the time, and that's also not scaring me right now either, which is really great. I do think that this is the period in my life where, and maybe it's because of affirmations or whatever, me giving myself just a little bit of structure to my life is allowing me to then rest in all of these other places in my life that feel unknown and that feel like just wide open. I think there has to be some structure in my life, also because I have a dog. So I think I have to be a balanced human to be a good caretaker as well. And so I think I have a to-do list of things of actions I can take in order to really make sure that happens within 5 years. And yeah, I don't know. Other than that, like, what would you suggest? You have advice?
Well, I think we've talked through a lot of it. That a lot of the power comes in starting, and realizing that we've got to build. Yeah. That it's like, and this is why I went to 5 years, because that's somewhere that's in the future, and we're not saying tomorrow. We're saying you can create that vision, that thing that you hope and dream for, because things can change. Like if you look back at how far things have gone for you in the past 5 years, how things have changed there, they can change 10 times more in the next,
right,
or 100 times more. If you talked about living on purpose,
right, and I think it's just doing one thing every day to work towards your career. Somebody said that once in like a casting director workshop, that was to do one thing every day, whether it's a workout, whether it's submitting for projects, whether it's writing, whatever it may be, that is just do one thing every day, so that you don't get to the end of that year and be like, oh, well, I wasted another year, you know, because I think sometimes I have definitely gotten into a habit of just waiting for the opportunity, you know, course, instead of being like on the offensive about it. And I think it's important to just do one thing every day. It goes back to being in control a little bit of having,
1% is something that I look towards as well. That's like doing one thing every day, 1% better every day. You know, it's not unattainable. That 1% better every day adds up over a year.
Absolutely.
I think I actually shared a thing someone did like a calculation of like 1% of if you just stayed the same 1 year from now, then you will be, like they did this maths calculation. 1 time, I'm not even going to remember it properly now, but 1 times 1 equals 1. You're there, but 1 times 1.1 equals 32.5 over the space of a year. So you've moved forward 32% than where you was a year ago. If you can find a way for that to fit into your purpose and your goals.
And I think you just have to, it's about being ready, isn't it? I think like talking about sabotaging opportunities for myself. I was not ready. I think that's why it's so important to the right opportunities did come along. I was waiting for them to come along, and those opportunities came along, and then I fumbled it because I was not ready. I wasn't in the right headspace.
You didn't go through some of the stuff you had to go through.
Absolutely, I was not in the place in life to be able to receive that, to accept that, to even nail it, because I was not in consistent training. When I was doing my tapes, I was not this goes back to like caring the most. Like you really do have to treat every audition like it is the role. Like you have to care the most and pour that much love into what you do, because I think it translates and people can see that. And I remember walking into, I was getting so frustrated because I finally asked for some feedback. This director came to one of the classes that I was in at the time, and he was offering like one-on-one personal feedback to people. And so I told him, I was like, I ask casting directors, or have my agents ask casting directors for feedback all the time. What am I doing wrong? Because I'm consistent. I show up early to my auditions. Like I do well. I act. Nobody's ever like, that girl, what is she doing? You know what I mean? Like I know what I'm doing. I'm consistent in my work, but I'm not booking anything. Like, what is the problem? And he told me, you apologize when you walk in the room, and you did it when you came in today. And I was like, what? I apologize for being there. And it's so true. Like you hear it all the time. People say, so quit apologizing for taking up space. But I really was doing that in like my career. I was not ready did not have like whatever it's called, the leading girl energy or whatever in my own life, because I was just so boggled with like insecurities and doubt and so much outside noise and pressure. And I think you have to do the work in removing that so that you can seize the opportunity when it comes to you. And another part of contentment, I think, is just knowing that you did your best. And you can't really feel like your best or that you did your best if you're fumbling those opportunities. And so I think like 5 years from now, I know I will feel content because I'm doing the work now that I'll be ready I'll be ready for the opportunities. And even if I don't book it or nail it, I will know I did my best and I was my complete whole self in that moment.
What a strange thing that we put ourselves into a position where we're asking others for feedback or to confirm who we are or if we're good
at what
we do. And you've put all this work in and you've trained, and like you said, you're turning up and you're doing the stuff.
Yeah.
But you're waiting for confirmation from someone else.
Yeah.
That I direct as well and produce theatre shows, and I sit on the other side, and I think that's helped me out a lot.
Yeah.
Because I think back to an audition that I did about a year ago on this stage. I had people come in and audition for me for a play, and I had 10 actors turn up, and they were all brilliant at what they did. Mm-hmm. I chose someone because they lived fairly local, not through their skill base.
Okay.
So it was all of the others. I didn't not choose them because they weren't doing the right things.
Right.
It was through practicality.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think that happens. I think that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Practicality is a choice through the people.
Absolutely.
Doing the business.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You can't. You have to care the most and then not care at all, right? About the outcome of it.
Yeah.
Which is really, really difficult to do. But you're right. It is. I do think it is important to ask for feedback, though, because I think if you can do that without asking about self-worth, like, am I worthy of this? Am I good at this? Can I do this? Versus, like, I think what can help me, you know?
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes people do observe things, on the outside that we're not able to observe ourselves because we're stuck in the muck. So like,
See, that reminds me of when I've tried to self-direct, and I tried to do like a short film and direct myself, and for me that didn't work.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't look at that outside perspective. I couldn't take as soon as I watched the footage back, I was like, shit. That was bad. But in the moment, you can't take that perspective, and I think that's true with feedback as well. That it's good to have to listen to feedback from others, but we also do have to consider how do we take that feedback.
Yeah.
Because it might not always come from a place of good intention. Sometimes that feedback can come from people that are jealous, or it can come from uninformed people as well. They might not know the full ins and outs of why you did something the way that you did it. So you do have to be careful with asking for feedback.
Sure,
I think that it's not just, they said that, therefore it's true.
Yeah.
They said that I needed to change my performance in a different way because, they might not have fully understood why you did it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true, yeah. Which might go back to, like, helping or just really knowing yourself, right?
Yeah.
That's why it's important.
So then you know yourself, and you know which bits of feedback are important and genuine, and which pieces of feedback you can go, well, that's not for me. That bit I don't need.
Yeah. It's also not all helpful. Even if it's true in that moment, it might not be the thing that is most helpful to hear. But it is important who you ask as well. I think you do have to trust the opinion. Yeah. Not everyone is...
From both ways as well, from a positive and a negative. Because I've got some people around me that would tell me I'm brilliant no matter what I do. And I don't think that that's always healthy
absolutely
as well.
not.
My parents are wonderful.
Right, we're not calling mom on this.
But no matter how bad it is, they would tell me that I've done a wonderful job. Like, I don't always need that. I sometimes need. My best friend, he gives me constructive criticism, and I do go to him for stuff because I know he'll be honest. Yeah. But he won't be horrible or he won't be negative. He'll just be like, you need to look at this.
Yes.
Bit. I think you're missing this.
Yeah. You need the voice of reason people in your life. It's important to have friends that can be honest with you. And it's also important to always be malleable, right? And to be the kind of person that's open to handling constructive criticism. Yeah.
And also, I'm thinking now about the theatre community. I've been involved quite heavily in the theatre community in this town for 20 years. And there's a portion of that the critic voice that comes out of there sometimes is very negative.
Okay.
And I know that comes from a place of, I know now
Yeah.
it comes from a place of jealousy. I know now that negative voice comes from a place of things that didn't necessarily work out for those individuals.
Oh, yeah, that's a shame.
But I didn't recognise that for a long
Yeah.
time. I looked to a few people of like, well, they're older. They must know.
Yeah.
They must know what they're talking about if
Yeah.
they say this is no good or this is wrong or
Yeah.
you shouldn't be doing it like that. Well, they must know.
Yeah.
But then as I've got older, I've gone like, well, no, you didn't know what you were talking about because you've not kind of had that kind of life. Or
maybe they were projecting wounds. Yeah.
projecting.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's I think before you take the criticism, know yourself a little bit first.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of how you're going to take that.
Yeah. That particular note from that director was so insightful though for me in that moment, because the second he said it wasn't like, I was like, what, me? I knew exactly what he was talking about.
Yes.
And I always felt it in every audition that I had.
That you apologize.
Yeah. That energy, and it translates. It absolutely translates. And I think that I was looking at people who were booking a lot of things. We all see it, right? We see people who this is going to sound like really bitchy, but like, or like a shitty thing to say, but like we see people who don't really work as hard or didn't go through the training, or maybe are not according to ourselves as talented
life,
or whatever.
Or
yes,
life, you know, like they're all showing all this perfect life on Instagram.
Sure,
and
right.
It's like how is that working out for you?
Yeah, well, we see people booking things that we maybe think we decide. You know, who are we to decide? But we do in our heads because we're people. That they're not deserving of that as much as we are because of XYZ. But they are confident as hell in what they do. And I think, and it really is, it's so important. And it's important to know who you are. It's important to be confident in who you are. And in the work that you show and that you can do. It's important to like know answers to these questions, which is why also I asked you a million times before coming on here, like, what are we talking about? What are we doing? Because I know myself, and I have a habit, number one, of like talking about complete nonsense. Like I will just rant.
Everyone does. Everyone does.
But pretending like I really know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And like it's just gibberish, or like so just pulling like words out of my ass, or two, of just going into like complete panic mode and not being able to articulate anything. So either way, I sound like a complete idiot. So, but like I love to be prepared for that reason.
Yes.
And so I think like you're
trying to find that comfort again, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're trying to find that comfort that we find in acting, where we've got the script and we know how it's all going to work.
Yes,
and then we want it in other situations as well, don't we?
We do, yeah. Yeah. But I think like...
But I think for me, I'm discovering that the true beauty and the authentic Ash is coming out through just speaking, through just talking and just being yourself.
Snotty coffee
It's not,
Ash.
Because like you said, like, you know, we recognise that within ourselves.
Yeah.
When you watch someone else being a true human, you're like, oh, I like you.
Sure, yeah.
You know, you gravitate towards that, don't you?
Yeah. I think it also, it disarms people, doesn't it? When you can be, I always like, I've always surrounded myself. I have multiple, just so you know.
Yeah. It's the inside out difference.
Yeah.
It
is. There's many.
There's many in there. Yeah, we know.
I always surrounded myself with friends that are quite unapologetically themselves. And I always really admired people who did that, because I always have been very apologetically not myself. And I think it disarms you when you're around somebody who can you know, it might not be the most politically correct thing. It might not be the, you know, whatever, the most profound thing or the most, you know, whatever, but it's human. And it allows you to then just be human and just be.
I think we're going through an interesting time as well. I think that we went through this period when social media was born.
Yeah.
That everyone tried to show off their best self. And for a long time, like, I remember the internet being born. That's how old I am. Like, I remember it like coming through at school, but then there was this period of time where everyone just showed them their best self.
Yeah.
And I think we're coming out of that now.
Yeah.
Whereas we're realizing how fake that is.
Yes. Yeah.
As a community, as a group of people, we're looking at that and going, that's not how it is for anyone. And those ones that were showing the shiny life, they're all the ones that are, that they're really struggling now.
But we did that as well.
Yes, yeah. Oh, I did it because I had this thing for a while of, if you go back real deep on my Instagram and look at the early stuff of me being an actor, there's like all these posy stuff, and I'd write this little blog underneath a photo that's like, I've got this, like, so I completely did it. Yeah.
I think it's because fake it till you make it is a big part of this. Thing, this career as well. And I still think that kind of is. I think that even if you don't have confidence, maybe you have to be a little bit better at. Yeah.
See, I want to disown that now. I want to come away from that.
I do
fake
too.
It till you make it, because.
But tell me.
Because.
How?
Oh wow! Tell you how. Like, I don't know. Like, I think faking it isn't the thing. I think trying is the thing.
Okay.
Working on it is the thing. Work on it until you make it. Try until you make it. Like, you're not it.
Yes. Yeah.
But let's try.
Yeah.
Let's work on it. Like, faking is different. Faking is pretending.
For sure. Yes. Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
And that's what everyone was getting wrong for a while. Let's pretend.
Yes. And nobody wants that anymore.
No.
Everybody just wants something real.
Because even the ones that did that, I pretended. Yeah. I pretended my life was shiny and perfect. Yeah. When it wasn't. And
we all did.
Tried to give this image to the world.
Yeah.
And, I think sometimes that maybe I might have got more social likes through that or something. But really, it didn't add up to anything in the real world.
Yeah.
Did it? It didn't really give any value or any matter to anything. So not fake it till you make it. Try until you make it. Yeah, work on it until you make it.
I like that. And exposing the trying of it.
Yeah.
Because I think, like, it is like part. Yeah, it's important to share the process, like you said, the seeds. I think everyone does just want something real. I do think we get to not give full credit, but a little bit of credit to Gen Z for that. Because I think that we are seeing a different side of social media now. I think everyone does just want something that is real. And of course, just in the world right now, like, I think us not really knowing what to believe or who to believe or who to trust anymore, we all feel that tension in the world, but even I've noticed a lot of people feel that just on a one-on-one basis with each other in their friendships and their familial relationships and their romantic relationships. I think it is so important to disarm people, and you do that by, I think, disarming yourself as well and being just authentic and being just open about your messiness and the chaotic and the trying of it. Even trying into failure, I think, is important for people to see.
Yeah, because we all have failure.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think for a while failure was seen as like a dirty word.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's where all the best stuff comes from.
That's true.
It's where all, like, you fail at something, if you work out where you went wrong and you start again, then you start afresh, and it's a lot more. Yeah. It's a lot better on the other side of after that failure.
Yeah. I hate improv so much. Do you like improv?
I used to hate it. I really enjoy it now.
Okay, yeah.
I enjoyed it after I went to a particular teacher.
Okay.
So, 15, 20 years, I'm not doing improv. I hate it. It's not me. And then I went to a particular teacher, the one that taught me about play. Yeah. And took me back to that place of childhood. That then I was like, oh, this is who I am.
Yeah, I think it is. I hate improv as well because
you want that structure.
I want the control.
You want the control, and the safety.
I do.
The safety net. Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
Whereas, don't you realise that this is kind of improv?
Absolutely. This stressed me out so much coming in today. I had to do my
You had to have your Ash
I did. I had to give myself a pep talk before coming in here. here are all the possible outcomes. Like, right, you either sound completely brilliant, and like you're
that's great that you've added that in there. That's great.
And like you're doing great things and big things or whatever, or you like do what you mostly do, which is like stick your foot in your mouth and sound like a complete idiot. But I think it's like, if you sound like a complete idiot, that's okay. It's okay. So I that's the pep talk that I'm talking about. I now have to tell myself, like, it's okay. And it goes back to failure and improv. So there was a point for all of this. I had a teacher as well. I hate improv. But he told me one of the reasons why I was struggling so much with it is because I am afraid of failure. I hate looking foolish in front of people. I hate failing in front of people. And there's no room for that in improv. The point of it is to kind of, be your dumbest self, So like and to just let whatever comes out. And that's the thing. And that's where a lot of the comedy lies. You're not trying to be funny. You're just allowing yourself to be fully open, which is really difficult to do. And it is the play. It is an important part of playing and just running on cue and jumping on cue. And yeah.
But the first thing I want to say right now is I hope that when you leave here today, you feel proud of yourself for pushing for pushing through that, because it is difficult.
Yeah,
it is hard when you have all these feelings and you have all of these thoughts. But I think that goes to show how there is something in that changing it to the positive talk.
Yeah,
telling yourself like the things that could go right with it as well.
Yeah.
And then just moving into a space where you're just, hopefully I'd like to think in this space we can just be ourselves.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And just say things, and I like to think that that's what I'm growing here and building on. A space where people can just say what they think without fear, and I feel like that's a thing that we're losing in the world a lot. There's this whole cancel culture that's been going on for a few years, where you say one thing out of place, or you say something 10 years ago and you're held to account for it now. Yeah. I feel like that's quite dangerous.
Yes.
To do that, because then that just stops us. Yeah. That stops us from progressing, and that stops us moving forward. Yeah. And I think I say a lot of things that are wrong. Yeah. But I'd also like to think that I learn. Yes. Yeah. And that we can all learn. Yeah.
I do. I think there is a problem in cancel culture for sure that doesn't allow for the progression of people and the evolution of people, and how we do grow and we do change and we learn the most from our mistakes. And we learn the most by teaching each other, though, as well. Yes. So I think there has to be some room for calling people out, for sure. Even calling ourselves out. Like, I hope that we are all striving to be people of accountability, ultimately, because we do need that. There has to be a place for justice. However, there has to be a place for grace as well. And I mean, because that is how we grow. That's it, period.
That was really well said. It was, yeah.
Oh, thank you. It was really great to be here today. Oh. No, I'm not kidding.
But it's yeah. No, I think I think we need to talk about this. Yeah, the way things aren't necessarily, they're too leaning one way, I feel. Yeah. With that we say someone said something wrong and that's it. Yeah. Yeah, and we don't allow the grace within there for that person to grow. Some people might not want to grow, and they might want to stick to it. Well, there you go. Held them accountable for what they said. But if there is somewhere that person can grow, then they don't need to be. Yeah, we can change our minds, we can change our thoughts, and we can learn, and we can move forward.
I think it requires a great deal of honesty and self-awareness. Again, like, you have to be honest with yourself, though. I think the reason why I think a lot of people struggle with grace is because they do not recognize their own need for it. And that doesn't go back to like a religious thing, and it might, but it is also just, I think, an actual belief that I have in me as well, is that I think that when you are ready to meet your own demons, you are able to see people and accept people as they are as well. And and again, not allowing, you know, I think there has to be accountability. I strongly believe in fixing in it, and I strongly believe in justice, but I think that we have to, nothing can change if it's not allowed to. You know what I mean? There has to be, I don't know where that thought was going.
Well,
I think
we can all help each other out on this journey of growth and discovery, but we're not going to be helping each other out if we just put a full stop on things.
Absolutely, yeah. Full stop.
And full stop.
Mm-hmm.
So before, I feel like we've had a wonderful conversation. We've covered a lot of ground. But before we wrap this up, we went in the time machine. I'd quite like to go back in the time machine once more.
Okay.
I'd like to go back to that time when you saw Charlotte Webb, and that little girl was watching Charlotte Webb.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to her at the beginning of her dream?
I think I would tell her to just trust herself more. Ooh, that's going to make me quite emotional, actually. I think to not be so hard on herself. And just to trust her instincts more, because I think we all do have the capabilities inside of us, like your daughter. Like, we do have that thing. My niece has this as well. She's like obsessed with music. She's 2. She sings everything, and it's just like instilled in her. And I think we all have these instilled gifts in us when we're born, and these callings and these colors inside of us. And I think if you just trust it and you lean into it and you don't allow the outside noise to kind of corrupt that, then that's where the beauty and the magic can come out. And so I would just say to, be kinder to herself, trust herself, and trust those intuitions. Yeah.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I really do. I really do appreciate you being here today, Ash.
Thank you.
For sharing. It's been a wonderful journey.
Yeah.
And I do really look forward to seeing where things go next for you.
Same with you. Let me know when your show is here.
Yes, I will.
Yeah.
30th of July.
Okay.
30th of July.
30th of July.
30th of July.
30th of July.
Yes. So, I had this idea, actually. I was going to try something new today.
Oh, okay.
Just come back to me with this being like the 200th episode. I was like, I like experimenting and playing. This might not work, right?
Let's do it.
I've got this idea. What if my guest on this show now gives my guest for my next show a question? So considering, like, you don't know who they're going to be. They're going to be a creative.
Okay.
What question would you have for a creative?
I would say I'm just going to go with the first thing that pops into my head, right?
Yeah, that's what I want. Yes.
Yeah. I would say, what is the scary thing that you are not wanting to do right now? That you know you should. But what is the fear? There's one thing you're hung up on that has some sort of fear surrounding it. And what is that thing? And
how would you answer that?
Oh, man. You did not tell me that.
I set you up there. No, like I said, it just came to me that I needed to ask that of you. Like, what is the fear for you?
I think the fear for me, again, I just need to go with the first thing that's in my head, but it is Pan's Asylum for me right now. I think it is the thing that is kind of because it feels so big. It feels like this huge thing, but I also know and understand it to be, because of the way that it's grown. It is kind of, I feel like, my artistic calling a little bit, and maybe that's why it feels so huge. I think it is my voice, and I've written other things that have been like nice stories in short films or whatever, but I think this is going to be my defining moment as an artist. It feels like, and it feels like it's everything that has been leading up to this. And it is the most scary thing I'll ever do, for sure. I already know it. And that's why it's kind of sitting in like limbo at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get it out of limbo.
Yeah.
Can I give you advice on that?
Please.
Get it out of limbo?
Yeah.
People.
Okay.
Get other people involved.
Yeah.
Do like a script reading. Just get a few friends around one night or down the pub or something and sit down and read it.
Yeah. And
just see what happens from there. Talk to people about it. Tell people about your dream.
Yeah.
Like you're doing today. Share your dream.
Yeah.
And then it will grow from there, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ash.
Yeah, thank you.
This has been wonderful. And thank you if anyone was watching or listening. We appreciate
thank you guys.
Appreciate you for joining us for this journey. And thanks again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.